Hello and welcome to this channel. My name is Janet. I'm working through the King James's Bible. Today I am in the book of Nehemiah and I will be covering today chapters 1, 2, 3. So I'll be summarising each one. So without further ado, let us get started. So let's start first with Nehemiah. He is a man of God who will be journeying with us through the next few chapters. He is the one that is telling this story, so this is where we start. Chapter 1 starts 1,000 years after the time of Moses and 400 years before the birth of Jesus. This is when the Israelites were in a desperate state. We've had wars, we've had battles, we've had sinning, we've had all kinds of things, and eventually we've had the final where the Babylonians come, they take over their land, and they end up in exile. Now, 2 to 3 million of the Israelites were deported to Babylon. And when they do finally decide to go, and the king of Cyrus, who is the king of Persia, who eventually wins over the Babylonian people, when he becomes king, he gives them this opportunity to go back to Jerusalem and Judah to build God's temple. Only 50,000 of them go back. And I guess this is because many of them had made a life for themselves in Babylon. They'd decided to stay there, they'd made things work. So many don't return. Those who do are the ones that are going to be discussed in these upcoming chapters. Now, the book of Nehemiah is 15 years after the book of Ezra, which is the one we've just covered. And Nehemiah is the cupbearer to the king of Persia. His name is Artaxerxes, which I say is King A because that name is just so hard to pronounce all the time. So when he comes up in any of these upcoming chapters, he will be referred to as King A or just the king of Persia. So after that long intro, let's get started. So Nehemiah starts writing about where he is. He's in the king's palace, which is where he lives because he is the cupbearer, which is the person who gives the king the wine. He serves the king wine, and he probably tested it as well to make sure it wasn't poisonous. He's also a trusted confidant to the king. He sort of stays close hand with him. So he's living in the palace when all of a sudden these men return from Judah. And it is a man named Hananiah amongst this group that Nehemiah speaks to. And he asks him, how are the Jews doing in Jerusalem now? What's happening over there? And Hananiah says, the survivors over there are in great distress and reproach. He said, the wall has been broken down around Jerusalem and the gates have been burned. Now, this is distressful because they've got no protection from their enemies. So it's like they can't rest. Every day is a worry, that some enemy could come and attack and take their family. So it's not a great place right now without this protection around them. So Nehemiah weeps about this because this is part of his heritage. These are his brethren. He's a Jew himself. So it really upsets him that he's hearing that, his own people are suffering right now up there. So he's weeping, he's praying, and he's fasting to the God of Israel. And he praises God, and he asks him to hear his prayer. And he confesses for the sins of Israel. He says, we have acted corruptly, we have not kept your laws. And he prays day and night for 4 months. In his prayers, he's asking God to remember his promises to Moses, that covenant he made all those years ago, and to the people. Knowing that, if we are unfaithful, that we will be scattered. But if we follow you, God, you will return us to you. If we start coming back in alignment to you, you will forgive. If we repent, you will take us back under your wings and you will protect us. And this is all as long as they keep God's commandments, laws, statutes, and ordinances. And he says during his prayers, I pray you hear me and have mercy on your servants who desire to fear your name. Have mercy, he says, and let them prosper. This is where we close chapter 1. So he has given 4 months of a really strong, dedicated prayer to God on behalf of himself and the people over there in Jerusalem and Judah who are in great distress right now. So as we open chapter 2, we have Nehemiah the cupbearer stands before the king. And this was during the 12th reign of King Persia, King A, remember? And he's looking sad, and this is not something a cupbearer should be doing, because when you were in the presence of the king, you were meant to be happy. You know, it was like you were blessed to be in his presence. And, you know, you could actually have yourself beheaded for going in there with this sad face, and yet he has this sad face, and the king notices, and he's afraid because he's thinking, oh my goodness, he's seen I'm upset. This is a bad thing. He's going to suddenly say, right, why are you looking like that? Off with his head. But the king instead asks him, why are you upset? Why do you look sad? And Nehemiah says, because my homeland is wasted and its gates are burned with fire. And Nehemiah prays to himself internally because he knows, you know, wow, for this to be happening, for the king to be looking at him in this way and to offer him, like, what do you request? He knows God is involved in this. And he says, send me to Judah to rebuild it. And the king agrees, yes, I will send you. And he asks him, can you give me safe passage to go there? Because obviously he's got a long journey and it's quite dangerous. There are enemies there that could threaten his life. And plus, a safe passage means that the king would give him letters that he would then pass to governors of different places that he's going to, so that he can pass with ease, that the king has allowed him, he's got this notice, he's allowed to go, a bit like a passport, you know, for us, where we can go through borders. It's kind of like that, where he's going to be travelling through these places. He's been granted by the king safe passage to Jerusalem. He also asked for timber and for financing to be supplied so that he can build the wall around Jerusalem. And God is obviously on his side because all of these requests are granted to him by the king. Now, Nehemiah has a plan. He's been thinking this over for a long time and he's now starting to implement it. So he sets off to Jerusalem and he's got a military escort by the king. They supplied this escort with him, and then he arrives at Jerusalem and he is greeted by some of the governors there. Sanballat, who is a Horonite, he is one of the governors there, and the other one is Tobiah. Now he is an Ammonite. He is the other governor that he is greeted by. And the two of them are not happy that he is there, but obviously he's got the letters that grant him entry into Jerusalem, so they have to let him through. Now when he gets to Jerusalem, he's there for 3 nights, and he doesn't tell anyone why he's there. And he sneaks out on the night on his own to look around Jerusalem and to see the damage that's done and where he will need to repair, like what exactly needs to be done. And then after these 3 nights, then he meets the leaders of Jerusalem and he tells him his plans, that he's got the king's backing and support to get the wall built around here, and so they will have this protection then. And the people there, yeah, they agree, they want to be on board and they're up for the work, and they're going to get to building this wall. Now we go back to these governors, but they've got one more with them. So there's 3 of them. We've got Sanballat, we've got Tobiah, and we've got Geshem, who is an Arab. Now these 3 mock and laugh and despise what they are doing. They're trying to put them off doing the works. And they're saying, you're rebelling against the king. They have no idea that the king is actually supporting this, so they don't know what they're talking about, really. And Nehemiah is very wise. He doesn't want to try and convince these people that what he's doing is right. You know, they're Jews themselves. You'd think they would be supporting these people, but they're not. And so he's like, I'm here to do God's work. You're not going to distract me. Let's just get to business. Let's keep doing what we need to do here. And Nehemiah even says this to his opponents who are going up against him. He said, you know, you are not of Jew heritage, basically, because they would be supporting them. And you're certainly not aligned with God. And this is where we close chapter 2, as they are getting to the work of building the wall. Yes, they've got opposition, but Nehemiah's strength and faith is strong, and he is there to guide these people to build up this wall. So now we go into chapter 3, and the building of the walls begin. Now this chapter is all about where they're going, who's going to be building it, so I'm just going to go through what they're building. The names are all in the chapter, so there is a link under this video to chapter 3 and you can check out all of the names involved at each section of the walls that they're building. So we begin with the high priest Eliashib. He and his brethren rise up and they build the sheep gate. Now this was the critical entrance part of the city. This is also where the people would come with their sheep, their flock, to sell it. Hence the name, Sheepgate. And it says the walls were built with the help of the men from Jericho. If you want to read all of this section and who actually helped build the Sheepgate, go to verses 1 to 2. Next, we get a list of builders who are working near the fish gate. And it's named this because it was near the fish market. It then mentions the sections of wall they built there. If you want to know the names of those and which sections, check out verses 3 to 5 in chapter 3. We then get a list of the people who were working near the old gate which they were building. Now this list of names again is within verses 6 to 12. There's also a tower of ovens made in this section, and we'll go now right through all the other sections that the builders were working on. So they're working near the valley gate, the refuge gate, the fountain gate, the water gate, and the horse gate. So those are all the segments done. What a team. What a team. When you read through all of these, teamwork makes the dream work, right? So, and that's what these people are doing. They're all coming together. They're building this beautiful wall. And this is where we close our final chapter for today. So we've got some real movement now on building a wall around Jerusalem to help protect those people. Yes, they've got a temple that they built, but now they need this wall to give them that safety in their cities. So we will carry on tomorrow, see how this wall gets going in the movement with Nehemiah on their side. Sounds good to me. They're doing really well. He's a strong leader. So let's see how it continues next. Hope to see you there. Thanks for your time, and I'll be back again soon. Bye now.